Welcome to Being Beta, where today I'm going to be changing and putting on the spare wheel on this because we've got a flat, unfortunately. So not in all cars, but in this car there is actually a spare wheel kit underneath in the boot space, which should have all the bits and pieces in. But again, before you go on your journey, you just want to make sure if you have a spare wheel kit that is actually all there. Sometimes the spare wheel is stored under the car as well, so yeah, just check according to your model and manufacturer. So in terms of safety, obviously try and pull over off of a road if you can. You should have a warning triangle and things like that with you if you need it, and high-vis jackets, and then once you've got the kit out, there should be like a little retaining plate which you unscrew, and that's going to give you access to the spare wheel itself. And again, you'll need to make sure this is pumped up and all the rest of it. So again, just an occasional check on your spare wheel kit will help prevent any issues when it comes to actually using it. So we've got the spare wheel out itself. Sometimes what you might find, depending again on the make and model of your car, is you can get like the super thin ones, and they're literally designed to get you to the nearest garage, and they should have speed limits that you can use and things like that. Because this is a bit of an older car, it has actually got a full size wheel, but again you can see the difference in terms of rims, so certainly we wouldn't be spending too much time on this. We're going straight to the garage afterwards. Also in terms of making sure it's inflated, when you press on the side, that's going to feel much like it's more pliable compared to when you push on top in terms of air. But again, if you're near a petrol station, then you can check the PSI at one of the air pumps. So here's a little bit of kit that I'm going to be using. So got these already in the car, and then this purple mat as well, just in the car for this sort of thing really. And then this is the jack that was provided. This is like your wrench, which is what you're going to be using to undo the wheel nuts themselves. This has also got a tow bar in the kit, and then importantly this is your wheel locking nut, because what you'll find is you'll have your normal sort of standard wheel nuts, and then one of them potentially is going to be a funny one, and that's to stop people basically coming along and stealing your wheels. So you need a special wheel locking nut. If you don't have that, you won't be able to get this off. So the next thing to do is make sure everyone's out of the vehicle, that the handbrake is applied, and then you either put it in first gear if you're facing slightly uphill, or reverse if you're facing slightly downhill. Again, ideally you want a nice as flat area as you can find, depending on where you've broken down. Now you're going to position the jack, and on a lot of cars you'll see there'll be like an arrow or a mark, and that will tell you where you can safely place the jack in position with. Again, you don't want it on like plastic or any of the sort of weaker parts off the chassis, because then the jack will potentially push through and break that part. So I'm not quite sure if you can see this, but I placed the jack in line with the arrow, and then there's a reinforced part just here, which is where the jack sits, and then I've literally just started to increase the height of the jack. Now only slightly. What I don't want to do is lift it completely, because then if there's no friction on the bottom of this wheel, when it comes to undoing the bolts, the wheel might potentially spin, so that's why I'm just leaving a little bit of weight. So the next step then, depending on your hubcaps, you might have a hubcap removal tool in your kit if you can't access the bolts, but in this instance we're quite lucky, we can get access to the bolts. So I'm just going to undo each of these in turn, and I found out this is called a wheel brace. Okay, so I'm going to loosen off the standard wheel bolts first. It's literally just a case of popping the wheel brace on and applying a little bit of downward pressure. If they're tight, then you'll see these are hollow, and if you've got any other metal bars you might be able to put in there to increase the length of the wheel brace, that'll give you a bit more torque. Or off the record, you can stand on these and apply a little bit of body weight. Just be super careful and make sure the brace is fitted, because if it's off on this angle and you put lots of weight through, it can spin off and you can hurt yourself. Again, I'll make reference to the handbook. So again, if you've got one of these, it's super useful because it gives you a breakdown of all the kit that you'll need, and also it'll tell you how to safely jack the car, etc. So in this instance, we're going to come on to the locking wheel nut. And so this basically just fits in the end of the brace like so. Then you slot that on into position. Now it does require a bit of wriggling around, get it securely put on to the locking wheel nut itself. So just going to wriggle it around, and then it's clicked into place, and it feels like it won't wriggle around. Put the wheel brace at the top, and then again a little bit of downward pressure just to start to loosen it. And then once you've loosened it to a certain extent, you'll then be able to do it by hand. So at this stage, all the bolts are now all loosened to within hand tight. So now this is where I'm going to jack the car up, so there's now no weight on the wheel itself. And then I'll continue to take the bolts off, pulling them out once there's no weight on the wheel, and then we'll be able to pull the wheel off. So the car is now jacked up, so there's no weight on the wheel. So I'm literally just going to now in-turn each of these bolts. I'll put them out, keep them somewhere safe or visible, particularly if you're doing this at, say, night time or in bad weather. You don't want to be losing your wheel bolts at this stage, so I'll do that for each of them in turn. All the bolts are now removed, so I'm just going to jack this up a little bit more so I can just pull it up without scraping the underside of the tyre on the ground at this stage.
Okay.
Right, so I've jacked it up a bit further. It should just be a case of pulling this off now. Moving it off to one side. Top tip is always lay these flat, and then they're not going to go anywhere. Now I'll grab the spare wheel and I'll roll it round, and I'll show you me putting it on. So I've rolled the wheel into place and then put it on, and then I've actually had to jack the car a little bit higher. So now that's going to allow me to spin the wheel on the hub itself, to then line up ready for the bolts to go back in. So everything's aligned. I'm just going to pop the bolts back in place. Again, righty-tighty. We're going to put all the bolts in, including the specialist wheel locking bolt back in. We're going to do all of these hand tight initially, and I'll explain why in a second. So I've done these all hand tight now, these all in position. Now what you've got to be wary of, I've got my wheel brace and ready to put the locking wheel nut back on in a second, but what you don't want to do is tighten each of these in a circle one way or the other. What you want to be doing is tightening opposites, and the reason is if you do it in a circle it can kick everything out slightly. Now I don't have a torque wrench and I don't know what the torque setting are for these bolts, so we're going to do this quite hard using our bit of body weight in terms of righty-tighty, and then when it gets to the garage, that's then when the garage will do it up to the correct torque settings once they've replaced the tyre on the wheel itself. Okay, so the wheel's on securely. We're now going to lefty loosey the jack, bringing the car back down into its starting position. Okay, so the jack's out. We're going to pop the old wheel with the flat back under here with all of the spare wheel recovery kit, and then we're good to go. So please like, comment, share and subscribe to help other beaters out there too. Thanks then.